Tired of the negativity? Looking for a shot of optimism? Well, I have an inspiring story to make you smile right after this. This episode of Misfits and Crackpots is brought to you by the Well-Crafted Story Workshop. Struggling to connect with your audience and attract new clients? Transform your speaking skills at the Well-Crafted Story Workshop with Coach Jimmy Hayes Nelson and yours truly, Dr. Danny Brissell. In just 2 days, master the art of crafting compelling speeches that convert listeners into clients. Whether in-person or virtual, you'll get personalized attention in an intimate group, learning not just from expert coaches, but from fellow entrepreneurs. Don't let another opportunity slip away. Get your free story blueprint today at wellcraftedstoryworkshop.com and turn your story into your most powerful business tool. Your success starts here. Visit wellcraftedstoryworkshop.com now. You're just a well-crafted story away from 7 figures. Hello there, my friend, and welcome to Misfits and Crackpots. Short, inspiring stories for busy people. I'm Dr. Danny Brissell. This is a podcast for those interested in extraordinary stories about ordinary people and companies. Consider it your dose of positivity and inspiration for the week. Abby Wambach said, "I've never scored a goal in my life without getting a pass from someone else." This week's success strategy: teamwork pays off. Nobody succeeds on their own. Collaboration is essential. As John Lee Zupancic says, who's going to hold your rope? Isn't that wonderful? If there's one thing human beings have proven is that you can do anything on your own. But why be successful on your own when you can bring others along for the ride? One of the extraordinary lessons in team sports is how everyone makes a contribution. In basketball, for example, 5 players take the court as a team. Each fulfills a unique role. The point guard's precise passes, the center's commanding presence in the paint, the shooting guard's long-range accuracy, all these elements combine to create a force greater than the sum of its parts. It's a living, breathing example of the question, what's more important, your arms or your legs? The answer, of course, is that both are vital. We are at our strongest when we work together, leveraging our individual strengths to achieve a common goal. Such has been the case with Reginald and Bernard. Reginald showed extraordinary musical promise. As a young boy, he discovered his grandmother's piano and was immediately drawn to its keys. It wasn't long before his mother noticed something extraordinary. Her son was playing complex pieces entirely by ear, replicating melodies he'd heard with uncanny precision. Intrigued, his parents enrolled him in formal piano lessons when he was 7. The boy's gift was undeniable, and by 11, Reginald had earned a coveted scholarship to the prestigious Royal Academy of Music. There, he continued to astound his instructors with his innate musical abilities. One particularly memorable incident occurred when he flawlessly performed a challenging 4-page piece by Handel after hearing it just once. Despite being hailed as a model student by many of his teachers, however, the young prodigy resented attending the academy and left before taking his final exams. With the help of his mother and stepfather, at age 15, Reginald, now known simply as Reggie, took a job as a pianist at a nearby pub. The next few years were a whirlwind of musical exploration. He formed a band with friends, aptly named Bluesology, paying homage to the genre that had captured his heart. To make ends meet, he took on odd jobs in the music industry, running errands for a publishing company and playing solo gigs in London bars. These experiences, while sometimes mundane, exposed him to the inner workings of the music business and helped hone his performance skills. Unlike Reggie, Bernard was no prodigy. Born in a farmhouse, the country boy found that school held little appeal to him. Like Reggie, Bernard found the rigid structure of school unappealing. However, he did discover a natural affinity for words. Writing became his refuge, a secret garden where his imagination could roam free. School was too suffocating. By the time he was 15, Bernard had abandoned his studies altogether. Seeking a more practical path, he took on a trainee position in the print room of his local newspaper. The world of journalism, with its fast-paced environment and commitment to storytelling, seemed like a natural fit for his budding writing skills. Here, Bernard thought he might have found his calling. But even this proved to be a false start. The rigid deadlines and focus on hard facts left little room for Bernard's poetic soul. Disillusioned, he took on a series of unremarkable dead-end jobs, more out of necessity than passion. In his free time, he found solace in the company of friends, embarking on hitchhiking adventures that broadened his horizons and filled his mind with new experiences and perspectives. These wandering years, while seemingly unproductive on the surface, were quietly providing him with raw material from which he would later draw. It was an advertisement that brought Reggie and Bernard together. On June 17, 1967, 20-year-old Liberty Records A&R manager Ray Williams placed an ad in the British magazine New Musical Express that read, "Liberty wants talent. Artists, composers, singers, musicians to form a new group." After thousands of applications, Ray met Reggie. "Reggie came along," Ray later recalled. "I always remember a sentence that he used, 'I feel lost.' He just didn't know what to do. He was frustrated very much by the fact he was only a backing singer and piano player. But as soon as Reggie's fingers touched the keys and his voice filled the room, Ray knew he had found something special. It was clear to Ray that the young man before him had a great voice and was a terrific piano player. As the conversation unfolded, however, it became clear that this gifted musician struggled with one crucial aspect of songwriting: lyrics. Sometimes serendipity intervenes. The thing is, Bernard had also responded to Ray's ad, and his application had caught Ray's eye. In his letter, Bernard had written, "I'm essentially a poet, but I think my lyrics could work with music." And at this point, Ray handed Reggie an unopened envelope of Bernard's lyrics. A bit later, Bernard went to London, where Ray had set up a meeting for him with Reggie. Despite their different backgrounds and personalities, the two young men found in each other a kindred spirit, a missing piece to their creative puzzles. Their connection was immediate and profound. They became like brothers, as their friendship extended beyond the realm of music. At one point, they even lived together, first in Reggie's mother's house, and later in an apartment they shared with a woman to whom Reggie was briefly engaged. This close proximity allowed for an intense period of creative collaboration. In 1968, the duo joined Dick James's DJM Records as staff songwriters, and it was here that they developed the unique working method that would define their partnership for decades to come. Their process was remarkably efficient. Bernard would craft a set of lyrics in under an hour, then hand them over to Reggie. With seemingly effortless skill, Reggie would then compose a melody to fit those lyrics in just 30 minutes. What made their collaboration truly unique was that they rarely, if ever, worked in the same room together. Bernard would craft his words in solitude, drawing inspiration from his life experiences, literary influences, and vivid imagination. He would then pass these lyrics to Reggie, who would breathe life into them through his musical genius. This separation allowed each artist to work in their preferred environment, free from distraction or pressure, yet the results of their combined efforts were nothing short of magical. Over the next 5 decades, this dynamic duo would go on to create some of the most beloved and enduring songs in the history of popular music. Their collaboration has yielded more than 30 albums, with record sales exceeding 250 million copies worldwide. They've achieved the rare feat of releasing the biggest selling single in music chart history and earned their rightful place in the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1992. Their catalog reads like a greatest hits compilation of 20th century popular music, with songs like Your Song, Daniel, Rocket Man, Crocodile Rock, Tiny Dancer, Candle in the Wind, Benny and the Jets, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, I'm Still Standing, and sad songs, to name just a tiny sample. Individually, they were talented artists. Together, they became legends. Despite being the less publicly recognized half of the duo, Bernard played an indispensable role in their success. His lyrics gave depth and meaning to the melodies, turning what might have been merely pleasant tunes into profound explorations of the human experience. He remained largely out of the spotlight, content to let his words speak for themselves through the voice and music of his partner. Reggie, on the other hand, became one of the most recognizable and beloved figures in the history of rock and roll. His flamboyant stage presence, combined with his extraordinary musical talent, made him a global icon. Yet he never forgot the importance of his partnership, always quick to acknowledge the crucial role his lyricists played in their shared success. The countryside wordsmith Bernard, the man behind the lyrics that have touched millions of hearts, is none other than Bernie Taupin. Despite his relatively low profile, Taupin's words have become part of the cultural lexicon, sung and celebrated around the world. And the musical prodigy, the pianist whose melodies have become the soundtrack to generations of music lovers? He was born Reginald Kenneth Dwight. Only 6 months after meeting Bernie, however, Reggie decided to go by a more marketable pseudonym, in homage to two members of his old group Bluesology, saxophonist Elton Dean and vocalist Long John Baldry. So in 1972, Reggie legally changed his name to Elton John. See, friend, inspiration is all around us. You just have to look for it. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another inspiring story about misfits and crackpots. Misfits and Crackpots is a production of Success Media, produced by Terrence Wishner. Sound effects by Alessandro Lucati, courtesy of Pixabay. Thank you for tuning in. If you loved today's story, there's so much more to explore in the book Misfits and Crackpots by yours truly, Dr. Danny Brissell. Grab your copy now on Amazon and dive deeper into the extraordinary lives of those who dared to change the world. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with fellow misfits who love inspiring stories. See you next time.